a better me. I'm an old man now. My hair is gray and my face has many lines, but I remember my teenage years very well. I often think about those days. Those days were hard for me, but they taught me many lessons. When I was younger, I believed life should be simple. I didn't want a normal job or a busy schedule. I thought people work too hard and forget to live. I didn't want that. I wanted slow mornings, calm afternoons, and peaceful nights. I enjoyed watching the sky, walking in the park, and listening to music. I believed that love and freedom were enough for a good life. People told me that I needed to grow up. They said life is not that easy and I must work to survive. But I didn't listen. I smiled and said I was happy without stress. I didn't want a big house or a new car. I didn't want to chase money. I only wanted to enjoy my days and do what I loved. I believed this was the best way to live. Most of my days were quiet and slow. I woke up late and made simple food. I read books, wrote in a notebook, and listened to old songs. I liked the silence and the soft wind outside. I often sat by the window and watched people walk by. I didn't feel sad or lonely. I thought I had everything I needed. I was proud of my simple life. One sunny afternoon, I met someone special. She was sitting alone on a bench in the park. For the next few days, I thought about her a lot. Her voice, her smile, and the way she listened stayed in my mind. I smiled without a reason. I walked in the same park, hoping to see her again. I began to imagine a future with her. I believed that she could understand me. I believed that maybe this was something real. Then I called her, and she agreed to meet again. I felt nervous but excited. I wore my cleanest clothes and combed my hair. I arrived early and waited on the same bench. She came after a few minutes. We smiled and everything felt good. I thought this could be the start of something beautiful. I was ready to share my heart. We sat together and talked again. I told her I liked her and wanted to know her more. I said I didn't have a job or much money, but I had love and time. She looked at me kindly but didn't smile. She said, "You are nice, but love is not enough. A home, a car, and a job are also part of life." Her words hit me like cold wind. I stayed quiet that night. I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed and looked at the ceiling. Her words played again and again in my head. I started to think deeply about my life. I had always felt free and proud, but now I wasn't sure. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe love alone was not enough to build a future. I closed my eyes, but my heart was heavy. The next morning, I walked outside with a heavy heart. The sky was blue, but I didn't feel light. I kept thinking about her words. I had always believed that love was the most important thing, but now I was not sure anymore. I looked around at the people on the street. Everyone was going somewhere. Maybe they knew something I didn't. Maybe I had missed something in life. I went to the same park where we met. I sat on the same bench and closed my eyes. I tried to feel the peace I once felt, but it was different now. Her words stayed with me like a shadow. "Love is not enough," she had said. Was she right? I didn't want to change who I was, but I also didn't want to be alone forever. I started to think about the things I had refused before. I never wanted a job in an office. I didn't want to wake up early or wear a suit. But now I began to wonder, was it really so bad? Could I still be myself and also be responsible? Could I build a life with someone if I didn't have anything to offer? These questions didn't leave my mind. I walked back home slowly. My room felt smaller than before. My books, my music, my quiet time. These things were still there, but they didn't feel the same. I opened my notebook and read my old notes. They were full of dreams and ideas, but suddenly they felt light and far away. I closed the book and sat in silence for a long time. That evening I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a man with big dreams and a kind heart, but also a man with no plan. I touched my hair and smiled a little. Maybe it was time to try something new. Not for her, not for anyone else, but for myself. I didn't want to live in doubt. I wanted to see if I could change and still be me. The next day, I made a list. A simple list with simple steps. Get a small job, save some money, learn something new. I didn't know where to start, but I wanted to start. I wasn't sure if it would work, but trying felt better than waiting. I took a deep breath and said one step at a time. That was enough for today. Days passed, and I followed my list. I found a small job at a coffee shop. I learned how to take orders, make drinks, and talk to people. At first, I felt tired and unsure, but slowly I got better. People smiled at me. They said thank you. I felt useful for the first time in a long while. I started to feel proud again. One night after work, I sat outside the shop and looked at the sky. The stars were bright. I smiled and thought of her again. I didn't know if I would see her again, but I hoped that one day I could say, look, I changed. I didn't give up. I knew now that love needs support, care, and strength. I was learning to give all three. One morning, I woke up before the sun. I made some tea and sat by the window. The street was quiet and the sky was still dark. I felt calm. I opened my notebook and looked at my list. Some things were already done. Some things were still waiting. I smiled because I was moving forward, slowly but forward. I started to read books about simple living and money. They were not hard to read. I learned new ideas, like how to spend less and save more. I even wrote my thoughts in a journal. It helped me stay focused. I wanted to be ready if I met her again, not just for her, but for my own future, too. Working at the coffee shop taught me many things. I learned how to talk to people better. I saw people from all walks of life. Some were happy, some were tired, some were quiet. Just like I used to be, I realized that everyone has their own story, and I was building mine, one day at a time. After a month, I had enough money to buy a used bike. It wasn't new, but worked well. I felt proud riding it to work. It saved me money, and I liked the feeling of moving fast on my own. It was a small win, but it meant a lot to me. It showed me I could make progress with effort. Sometimes I still thought of her words. Love is not enough. They used to hurt, but now they helped. They made me open my eyes. I didn't hate her for saying it. I was thankful. Her honesty was like a light. It showed me what I didn't want to see before. I used to live in a dream. Now I was living in real life. One day, A friend at the shop told me about a free course. It was about basic computer skills. I said yes without thinking too much. I went twice a week after work. I was tired, but I liked learning something new. It made me feel fresh. I was surprised that I could understand it so well. Weeks passed, and I finished the course. I got a small certificate. It made me very happy. I took a photo of it and sent it to my mother. She called me and spoke. "I'm proud of you." That made me cry a little. I had not felt that in a long time. I kept the certificate next to my bed. Now I was not just a dreamer. I was doing something about my life. I still loved books, music, and quiet time. But I also liked this new me, a man with goals. A man with action. I didn't know what would happen next, but I was not afraid. I was ready to keep going. I was ready for more. It was a cold morning when I saw her again. I was walking to work, wearing my warm jacket and holding a cup of hot tea. She was standing near the bus stop, looking at her phone. For a moment, I stopped. My heart beat faster. I didn't plan to talk to her, but something inside me said this is your moment. So I walked up slowly and said hello. She looked surprised but smiled kindly. We talked for a few minutes. She asked how I had been. I told her I was working, learning, and doing better now. She said, "That's good to hear." Her voice was soft and her eyes were warm. I could tell she was happy for me. We didn't talk about the past. We didn't talk about love, just two people sharing a small piece of their lives. It felt simple and peaceful, like a fresh breeze. After that, I saw her a few more times in the city. Sometimes we waved. Sometimes we talked for a minute. We didn't become close again, but that was okay. I no longer needed her to fill my world. I had my own path now, a better one. She was a part of my story, but not the whole story. That gave me a sense of peace, a sense of growth. I was not that same lost boy anymore. At the coffee shop, my manager noticed my hard work. One day, he gave me more responsibility. I started training new workers. I helped with the orders and learned how to manage the cash. It felt good to be trusted. I started to think maybe I could grow even more here, not just work for money, but build something. I even began saving for a course in business basics. One weekend, I joined a small book club at the library. We read simple books and shared our thoughts. I met new people, people who also wanted more in life. Some were young, some were older, but all were friendly. I liked the way they talked and listened. I felt welcome there. It was another step forward. Another door opened just because I said yes to something new. I also made a plan for the next year. I wrote down what I wanted to do. I wanted to keep learning, save more money, and maybe find a better job. I wanted to feel proud of myself every day, not just once in a while. It was the first time I planned ahead like this. I wasn't afraid of the future anymore. I was excited about it. That was a big change for me. Sometimes I still had bad days, days when I felt tired or unsure. But now I didn't run from them. I didn't hide under my old thoughts. I faced them. I talked to a friend or went for a walk. I wrote in my notebook or listened to music. I had tools now, simple tools that helped me stay strong. I was learning how to take care of my mind, not just my work. By the end of the year, I looked back at how far I had come from sitting alone with big dreams to standing up with small wins. I still didn't have a car or a big house, but I had peace. I had a path. I had a better version of myself. That was more than enough. That was something real. And it all started with one moment, one girl, and one honest truth. One evening, as I closed the shop, my manager came to me. He smiled and said, "You've done good work." I felt proud. Then he asked if I wanted to help open a new store. It was not a full promotion, but it was a big step. I quickly said yes. That night, I stayed awake in bed. I was thinking about the future and what could happen next. The new store was small, but full of hope. I met new people and helped train them. We cleaned the space, set up the shelves, and waited for the first customers. The days were long and a little hard. We made mistakes, but we learned from them. I started to enjoy the work. Every day, I felt stronger. I knew I was growing, even if it was slow. I earned a bit more money in the new role. It wasn't a lot, but it helped. I moved to a better apartment. It was small, but clean and quiet. I bought a desk, a chair, and a few books. It became my safe space. I cooked for myself and sometimes for friends. Life still had problems, but it felt better. I was making on my own. One night, I walked past the street where I met her. It looked the same, but I felt different. I stopped and looked around. I smiled a little, thinking about that moment. I didn't feel pain anymore, just peace. I turned and walked away. That part of my life had passed. I didn't need to go back. I had already taken the lesson. I started reading more about money and life. I watched videos and wrote down what I learned. Some days I didn't understand everything, but I didn't stop. I kept trying. I helped a friend start a small online store. She was happy, and I felt proud. Sharing my knowledge gave me new energy. I like this new part of me. I changed my mornings too. I woke up early and made tea. I sat down and wrote in my notebook. I wrote about what I wanted, what I feared, and what I learned. It helped me think clearly. I wrote letters to my future self. I wanted to remember this journey. I didn't want to forget how far I had come. Writing helped me grow. Now I had more than money. I had purpose. I had self-respect. I felt proud of who I was becoming. I no longer needed big things to feel happy. A walk, a good talk, or a quiet night were enough. I didn't have all the answers, but I had hope, and that was enough to keep going. One morning, I received a call from an old friend. We hadn't spoken for many years. He had heard about my new job and wanted to meet. We sat at a small cafe and talked for hours. He told me about his business and asked if I wanted to join him. I didn't answer immediately. I needed time to think. That evening, I walked alone and asked myself what I truly wanted in life. After 2 days, I made my decision. I said yes. We started working on a small project together. It wasn't easy at the start. We had different ideas, and sometimes we disagreed, but we respected each other. We learned how to work together as a team. Slowly, our project began to grow. We created a website and got our first customers. Every new order felt like a small victory. We worked in a tiny room with old chairs and one table. We didn't have a big office, No fancy furniture, just big dreams. But we showed up every morning. We worked hard, always trying to do our best. Sometimes we stayed up late, fixing problems or thinking of new ideas. It was tough, but I enjoyed it. I was doing something I believed in. After some time, we saved enough money to move into a bigger space. It wasn't large, but it was ours. We painted the walls, set up shelves, and made it feel like home. We got help from others who believed in us. Some were friends, and some were strangers. It felt good to know people cared. I realized that support is stronger than money. At that time, I remember the girl again. I thought about her words. Love is not enough. I used to feel hurt by that, but now I understood. Love is important, but life also needs hard work, trust, and stability. I wasn't angry anymore. I was thankful. Her words helped me change. Maybe that was the push I needed to grow. It's a good way to practice English every day. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more English stories.